Over the weekend, Terence Crawford successfully defended his WBO welterweight title against Sean Porter, defeating the former champion via TKO in the 10th round. It was a competitive fight until Crawford got the job done in the 10th round, dropping Porter twice before forcing Kenny Porter, the father and trainer of Sean Porter, to throw in the towel. To you, Santino, what were the things that stood out on the part of Porter which made it really difficult for Crawford, and what were the things that Porter failed to capitalize in the fight?
Ayan, yun nga, Nessie. It was a very impressive showing, especially for Terence Crawford. But kung titignan natin, very impressive showing din siya for Sean Porter because Terence Crawford is one of the best fighters in the world today. Top 5 pound for pound, if I'm not mistaken. And for Sean Porter to be able to push Terence Crawford to the limit like that, no, it says a lot about the caliber of fighter that Porter is. Unfortunate lang on his part na hindi na na-sustain and talagang makikita mo, that there's a reason why Terence Crawford is a champion. There's a reason why Terence Crawford is considered one of the best in the world. So because he can rise to the occasion, and that's what he did. Talagang tinanay niyang dalhin sa laban niya, kumbaga si Terence Crawford. He became the aggressor early on, tried to brawl with Terence Crawford. Crawford tried to play the game also, but eventually went back to game plan and ended up getting a 10th round stoppage.
Santino, I agree with you. Come to think of it, Porter did a terrific job forcing Crawford to really to fight on his back foot for the majority of the fight, and makikita naman natin his aggressiveness throughout the fight really put Crawford off his game a couple of times in the fight. And I also truly believe that that kind of approach made it really difficult for the judges to score it per round. Kasi makikita na some experts, including former world champion Andre Ward, thought that Porter was winning. And before the stoppage in the 10th round, the scores were 86-85, 87-84, and 86-85 in favor of Terence Crawford. Luckily for Crawford, he got the job done and he didn't go the distance with Porter. Kasi those last 3 rounds pa lang would be very crucial, lalo pag nag-reflect yun sa scorecards. Now, speaking of the 10th round, Santino, do you agree with the decision of Kenny Porter to stop the fight after those 2 knockdowns in the 10th round? Was it a bit premature from your end, or was the writing on the wall for Porter?
Para sa akin, tama ka nga. The writing was on the wall. If you look at the first knockdown, pwede mong sabihin na it was a mix of a good punch coupled with yung medyo off-balance si Sean Porter kasi paupo yung knockdown. The second knockdown was a little more clear kasi glancing lang. If I'm not mistaken, pagkakita ko medyo glancing blow lang from Terence Crawford. Tapos tumba na si Porter. Kita mo rin yung frustration niya. I think the stoppage was para sa akin if I was Sean Porter, medyo premature yung stoppage kasi if you look at si Sean Porter, he wasn't out on his feet. Maybe he was out during that moment na knockdown siya, but the thing is kasi with boxing, diba, you're given time to recover. So it looked like from what I saw during that closing sequence, medyo frustrated siya sa ginawa ng dad niya. Para sa akin, I'd say it was a premature stoppage. If I were the one to in the corner, I'd let it go kasi hindi natin alam kung anong pwede mangyari. Had Sean Porter been able to survive up until the 12th round, we don't know. Sobrang dikit ng scorecards nga. Sabi mo nga, we could have seen a new champion, diba? But again, that's why Kenny Porter is in the corner of Sean Porter. He knows best. He knows what he's doing. So I guess he has his own reasons kung bakit din-decide niya na ayaw niyo na makita. I guess from a father's standpoint din, ayaw mo na makita yung anak mo na mag-absorb ng ganong klaseng punishment.
Santino, with this is Crawford's first marquee victory at 147 pounds. Do you think it sets the wheel in motion for bigger fights in the division?
Definitely. And the fact of the matter is, Terence Crawford isn't a hard draw. I mean, big name na agad siya. And there's nothing more interesting for him, for someone like him, than to go other big names in the division. Like you said, big marquee victory, first big marquee victory niya at the weight class. I don't think naman there was any doubt that he could hang with the best in the division. But I guess ngayon, it just goes, it kumbaga cements his legacy, or it cements his status as one of the best in the division. And there's nothing, the logical thing to do, the smart thing to do is to pair him up with other big names. Look for unification fights, look for kasi yun na yung there's nowhere else to go from here. Nakita natin na Terence Crawford is someone, kasi we've seen Terence Crawford dominate his last few fights. Ngayon, we've seen him come back from adversity. Parang if you're a boxing fan, or if you're someone who follows boxing, you'd want to see how it goes. Yeah, if you're a Terence Crawford fan, you'd want to see how it goes from here. Nakita na natin na tao rin pala siya, pero he rises to the occasion. Can he do that with other big names in the division? Can he do that against the other champions in the division? There's simply no other option than to give him the big money fights.
Santino, who do you want to see Crawford fight next? Is it Crawford versus Spence or Crawford versus Ugas?
I'd say Errol Spence. Siguro Dennis Ugas, as impressive as he was against Manny Pacquiao, I wouldn't put him in that tier yet. So if Ugas can prove that hindi siya fluke champion, na talagang deserving siya of if he can defend his title multiple times, I guess it would be interesting to see Crawford Ugas. But for now, I think the smart fight is an Errol Spence fight.